So, someone asked me what I think of the Lomo movement in photography. What they were referring to is kind of the popularity of what's called lomography within photography. It's kind of, a lot of people think of it as hipster photography, or that's kind of, when they're thinking of hipsters taking pictures, that's kind of what they're thinking of is actually lomography. It's a form of photography which tends to use cheap cameras, funky cameras, old expired film, etc., to make kind of photographs that are more like, I would say more like art than a photograph, but photographs are art, that are less representational photographs than your average photographer is aiming for. They tend to have a lot of light leaks and lens flares and weird colors and overexposed or underexposed, or all these kind of things that usually photographers aim to not do. Anyway, I do think that it's gotten a little extreme. I am glad to see people experimenting with different kinds of photography. People have been experimenting with photographic shit for forever. I remember making Polaroid transfers with my mom in the darkroom when I was a kid, and people were making pictures with camera obscuras, in rooms, and people have always done weird shit with photography. In fact, I would argue they did weirder shit with photography back, in the days when people were in dark rooms, because you could do all sorts of stuff with chemicals, different papers and different processes, and I think that a lot of the lomography movement, hello River, a lot of the lomography movement is kind of just a continuation of that, and the hipsters tend to like old things and old processes, and this is another kind of old process. It's not, the only issue I have with it is when people think that it's some new thing. It's very much not. It's very much an old form of photography and an old way of doing photography. I like it. I would do some of it if I had access to a darkroom. I really hate getting film developed. I have a Hasselblad camera and a medium format camera, which is definitely not lomographic because it's a really nice camera. But even with that, I don't tend to shoot with it much because I have to pay for processing and film, and that's all expensive. That's actually kind of one of my issues with lomography, is lomography used to be a cheap but artistic way of doing photography, and now it's actually almost, being able to shoot film is actually almost a marker of prosperity, because film is expensive, processing is expensive. When I get between buying the film and processing it, shooting a roll of 12 medium format pictures costs me about $20. And 35mm film is cheaper and the processing is cheaper, but it's still not cheap, especially when you consider the number of pictures that a lot of people are taking, because they're used to taking digital pictures. So that's actually one of the only things I don't like about it, is it's become kind of an elite thing, whereas it used to be kind of like the everyday man's photography. And that's actually one of the things that kind of bugs me about some of the hipster stuff, is it's taken stuff that was like middle class and working class stuff and turned it into some like upper class, hide your money in plain sight type of thing. It's, I don't have a regular camera, I have this funky old camera that, even though it's old and funky and used to be used by poor people, is now expensive, and so yeah, I don't know. So that's what I don't like about it. But anyway, so that's my thoughts on lomography. There's several good websites out there if any of you are interested in it. Can't really remember any of them off the top of my head. Anyway, I hope that answered your question in a really long and rambly way. Thanks!